What is up, fam? Thank you so much for joining me on another edition of Vigorously. This is an episode of Vigorously, but it's kind of like a little bit of a self-serving episode too, because it's something that I want to talk about and I got to talk about it now. So that's why I'm doing this now. So excuse any shower sounds that you might hear. My husband is currently showering. So we're just rolling with this here, and we're trying to get this out because this is a topic that blew all of our minds. And it's on our minds right now. So this is the perfect time to talk about it, really. We're going to get into one of my favorite bands and a big piece of news that has come from them this week. Mastodon is who we're talking about. And of course, we're talking about the departure of Brent Hinds. So I'm a fan. We're going to get into this for a little bit. I'm a fan, and I have seen them in concert on tour regularly since 2012. We're talking Hunter era Mastodon. That is where my love affair with the band begins, really. That album, Carl the Burl on the radio, it was a radio single at the time. I said, what is this? And of course, Brent's vocals are very present on that particular song. So that is the one that started it all. That's the album that really grabbed me more than anything. And it prompted me to explore the rest of the catalog. So after that, I get to know there's a bunch more to this band. There are more vocals. There is fantastic drumming. There is fantastic bass work. There is fantastic guitar work. There's synth sounds and keyboard sounds and a little bit of electronic as we get a little more progressive in the later years. Now that we've, been following them since then, the more recent stuff is what I'm talking about. There was something for everyone from Mastodon. And more specifically, I love the fact that they are very proud to have 3 vocalists in the band. To anybody else who isn't really a rock or a metal fan, that sounds like it could be a lot. 3 vocalists in one band. And yet Mastodon make it work because the 3 vocalists all have a very distinct sound. And I'm going to get into this a little bit with Brent in particular, but Troy, to me, Troy Sanders, Mastodon's bassist and another vocalist in the band, he is like within my top 5 vocalists of metal. So let's put some respect on his name right there. Let's get that just settled, done. He's up there for me because I love how harsh and yet reserved his vocals can sound. I love that he can sound like he's really straining himself and he's really getting his message out there, but he's like, nah, I'm a chill. I'm a chill. And maybe that's who Troy is as a person. I don't know. I don't know the band at all. Some of what we're going to talk about is definitely speculation. I'm just going to put that disclaimer in there right now before we get too far. This is why Brent is an integral part of the band, and this is a big topic among the metal community right now because his voice is even more distinct. It is, I don't know that there's a word to describe it. You just know it's Brent. You know it's Brent. You know it's Troy. And Braun does a beautiful job of hitting the higher registers, and that's, to me, that's what he's known for in Mastodon, and I know that comes from his influences. Brent, coming from a country world, being from Alabama, coming from a rockabilly world, coming from also a Thin Lizzy world. Okay, so the harmonics are there, the picking is there. That's Brent Hinds as a musician, for those of you who don't know. So in case you missed it, let's get to the news. Let's get to the meat. The announcement came out around lunchtime, Friday, March 7th. Brent Hinds leaves Mastodon. It's a mutual decision. I'm condensing this, I'm paraphrasing, but the announcement is it's a mutual decision. Brent is leaving Mastodon after 25 years of being in the band. And if you don't know your Mastodon history, that is essentially since its inception. Not essentially, that is. Brent was there from the beginning. Period. From the very beginning of Mastodon calling themselves Mastodon, Brent was there. That is why this is a big deal. And he's very well known within the music itself. You can pick out his parts, you can pick out his vocals. He means something when it comes to the music. People know the music because of Brent's contributions, everybody's contributions really, but you can recognize his especially So it makes everybody's contributions that much more special. And that's why this was a really big deal, because it's like, whoa, well, without Brent, what is this going to sound like? We'll get to all that too. Speculation then begins. We'll get into this. We'll get into a little bit of tea here. My phone blew up on March 7th at around lunchtime. Like I said, that's how, and like to the point where other people were texting me about this, going, did you see it? Did you see it? Did you see it? And I did. And that's why this was such a big deal. So once this is out, the speculation begins all throughout the weekend. Some are saying Brent left the band because he simply just didn't want to do it anymore. We're trying to make sense of this, right? We're trying to figure out, why would somebody leave a monumental and sizable portion of their life? 25 years doing one thing. Can you imagine that? 25 years. And all of a sudden, we're doing something different. We're trying to wrap our head around this. So the speculation begins. Some are saying that Brent didn't want to do it anymore. Very plain and simple, very cut and dry. Some have suggested that Brent wasn't into metal, because he has said this almost verbatim. Almost in other interviews previously. He's not, he has said he's not so into metal per se, and we know he has other projects that have that more country, rockabilly, Western type sound. It makes sense. He's a guy from Alabama that went to Atlanta looking to do something outside of Birmingham's scene, a little bit bigger than Birmingham, and that is how he meets the rest of Mastodon. So as recently as 2015, it's come out of Brent's own mouth that metal was not necessarily his preferred genre. His side projects are evidence of this as well. So this theory, that one in particular, holds a little bit more weight to me. But the speculation doesn't stop there. Reddit, we love Reddit. Reddit is notorious for just conspiracy theories and things flying everywhere, all the tea. And I have wondered about the fact, this is just me personally, and this was where I went after looking on Reddit for a little bit. I have wondered if the fact that his wife is younger is playing into this at all. Meaning, do they decide that they want to focus on starting a family? Possible. Not out of the realm of possibility at all. However, Reddit isn't really sure they're still together. We don't really know. So all of this is pure speculation. No truth, really, to any of it, except what has come out of Brent's own mouth, which is that, metal really isn't his chosen preferred genre. So we're going to lean with that may be the reason that this happened here. But officially, we truly have no answer. We don't know. All we know is that it's a mutual decision, and the paragraph that we were given suggests that it was amicable. I don't know how it wouldn't be after you've gotten to know somebody about past 25 years. You've toured with them countless times. You get to know them. You learn how to work together. Perhaps they did come to a mutual agreement, and that part is true. Then we have the Ben Eller effect. Oh, it gets interesting. We know Ben Eller from YouTube. We know him as a guitarist. He's done multiple videos citing Mastodon, citing his own Mastodon fandom. And stuff Mastodon does. If that video hasn't blown up since, I think it has. I was well aware of it before. He's done other Mastodon related videos. It's not a shock that somehow, some way, Mastodon would be aware of Ben, because he does have a sizable following on YouTube. How did this come together, though? We still have questions about this, because Monday, March 10th, we woke up to the news that Ben had joined Mastodon on stage to fill in for Brent on Tool's Live in the Sand event, which is a whole other topic of conversation we may get into. We'll see, because there's some chatter about that as well. But this is just wild. Like, can you imagine one day you're a fan, you're making YouTube videos, and all of a sudden you're on stage with that band? That is wild. Wild. Like, what is getting that phone call like? Can you imagine Troy Sanders calling you and saying, can you learn 17 Mastodon songs immediately and meet us in the Dominican? I don't know that that's how it went down, but he seemed to suggest that that may have been when Troy introduced Ben on stage. So that starts spreading online. Oh my gosh, I can't believe this. And given the nature of what Ben does, given the nature of how important this news is, I'm not surprised that it spread like wildfire. So universally, since then, now that we've all seen this and had a minute to digest, it's agreed that Ben is a great fit. And it's fun to see him on stage, knowing how much love he does genuinely have for the band as well. However, we think this is probably just a fill-in situation. And here's why I'm going to suggest this. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, please. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not 100% on this. What I'm more familiar with in the bits that I have seen of Ben's channel is that he's a guitarist. I don't know that Ben is a singer, and that is the thing that I think is preventing him potentially, maybe, from being an actual permanent member of the band. They're gonna want somebody, I would imagine, I would think, that can take on what Brent used to do, which was vocals and guitars. I don't know. I'm just saying that. So is Ben might be a good fit for right now. Maybe. Permanent option? That's the only reason that I'm saying I'm not so sure. But you never know. So now we're left with what's next. Is it possible that Ben Eller could fill on the upcoming tour with Coheed and Cambria? Yes. And given the fact that he's already learned 17 songs in such a short amount of time, I think that's highly likely. Given the fact that he was so well received and the video clips went everywhere, sure. Why not? They have no reason not to invite him if they haven't selected a permanent member yet. So, in the event that they're still weighing what they want to do with their future, I think Ben makes sense for now to fill in for this next obligation. We could do that because Mastodon did make it very clear that they are fulfilling all their touring obligations as scheduled, as planned. There is no impact there. But I think once they get through that tour, if there isn't an announcement about an official new member, we would have one maybe after that tour. That's my theory. That's what I'm thinking. That's my tinfoil hat for the day. Y'all can let me know what you think about this whole situation in the comments. I'm very curious to see where it's going to go next. I have so much love for the band that I do want to follow them. I want to see where this goes next. And I want to see if this changes the musicality at all. We don't know that. You never know. So stay tuned, more to come, and I will definitely update you as that happens. Thanks for watching and for listening, since we're doing this in both forms. I love doing these.